Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's another episode of the Spartan Shadows podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris. I'm joined with my co-hosts, Zack and Emmett. And guys, it's football season. We are officially game week. Week one of the college football season is coming up this weekend. The Spartans will be in action Friday night against Western Michigan. And what better time to drop the game preview? We're here. We're going to talk Western. We're going to get you geared up for the game Friday night. We'll talk our analysis of the Broncos, what we think is going to happen potentially. We'll do some picks, some first touchdown. I don't know. Is it going to be Jack Velling? You'll find out.
Maybe.
But we're here to talk it all through and get you ready for Friday. Real quick plug before I throw it to the guys to say hi. I don't know if you guys saw on the Shadows Pod Twitter account last night. I did plug out the schedule for this week. You guys said you wanted football content. We're doing our best to deliver this week. Starting today, we are going to have one episode drop each day. Today we had our roster preview on the linebackers go up, I believe. Yep. And then tomorrow we will have Monday, we will have this episode that we're recording now. We got a couple other roster previews to go up through the week, and then we have a couple guest interviews we're going to have recorded and posted by then. So you'll get something football related each day, and then Friday night game time, and then maybe some rapid reactions or something after. We'll break it all down and get you going into your Labor Day weekend. So long intro. That's the plan for the week. We're excited. It's football week. Zack, Emmett, how you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. We've already had week 0, which had some really interesting games there. We almost had an upset that was like a 26-point favorite for Idaho State over UNLV. Obviously, UNLV already won that by 7, led by Alex Orji as one of the quarterbacks, which shouldn't really necessarily surprise anyone from watching him play at Michigan. But we've already had fun college football games. I don't know about you guys, but I was watching that Hawaii-Sanford game, kind of a little bit of a throwback to that late football. I would have loved a midnight kickoff or 11 o'clock kickoff so we can get that true late night, but just super excited that college football is finally here. Obviously, with MSU, you got to love the Friday night kickoff. Hopefully the only Friday night kickoff we have this year. I do not want to repeat of last year, but this is the one and only Friday night kickoff. I'm thrilled about it. So really excited. How about you, Emmett?
I'm doing pretty good. Back to answer your question, this is the only Friday kickoff. The Big Ten would have to inform Michigan State in writing, I believe, 6 or 8 months beforehand, according to MSU football media. So this is the only Friday kickoff for your Spartans this year. Huge thing to be excited about. Good. This is a tradition for MSU every year besides like 2017. If the season opens at home, it opens on Friday night, and it's just an exciting time. I know we said this at this time last year, but year 2 under Jonathan Smith, you saw a clear direction with the portal, and you saw the positions of need get addressed, and overall, it's a very exciting time. And this Western team, on paper, it looks like this is one that Michigan State's hopefully you get to see more of those new guys who might be second string and working their way into first string. Hopefully you get to see those guys later in the game.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll break it down a little bit. This is the Western Michigan Broncos team that lost a lot of players from their last year's team. 2024, they finished with an overall record of 6-7. Did finish 5-3 in the MAC, which was good for, I believe, 5th place overall. So that was a highlight for them, but overall not the best of records. And then, like I said, they did lose a lot of production on the defensive end for sure. Some offensive talent as well. So they are returning some skill positions of note and some names that you've maybe heard before. We'll, of course, break that down. Going into the game, the Spartans on most sites are about a 19.5-point favorite. FanDuel, which is the one I use the most, and this is no means an ad. It could be if you want to sponsor us, FanDuel, let us know, of course. DraftKings, if you don't want to let them have it, hit us up. But on FanDuel, where the Spartans are coming in as a 19.5-point favorite. That's about where it is, like I said, on most sites. I do think DraftKings has it at 20.5 points. Kind of right around that mark. It opened at 17.5 as a Spartan favorite, and it's kind of ballooned from there. A lot of money and a lot of confidence on the Spartans to get it done by a pretty handled margin, I guess. Pretty easy win according to Vegas. We know is it ever really that easy? I don't know. MSU seems to like to play games close enough to want to give us a heart attack. So we'll see what transpires Friday night. But the moral of the story, it should be a Western team that's beatable pretty easily. Like Emmett said, a lot of additions to the portal for the Spartans that we've talked about at length this offseason. I think this team overall is a lot deeper. While we may have not got the top end studs to come in from the portal that are like super supremely like cut and dry best player on the field, we got a lot better in a lot of additions and a lot of positions, and added just a lot of overall good talent, which is something I think we needed because depth was a huge issue last year. So I think something like that may be on display a little bit more this weekend because, like you said, Emmett, maybe second half we're getting some second stringers in and getting some playing time to maybe finalize those last second starting positions and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we're at for the spread. The intro game time is, I believe, 7 o'clock.
Yep.
7:30.
7:30.
7 o'clock on
Saturday.
Yeah. Yep. 7. And that's on Friday night from Spartan Stadium. FS1. Was that the?
Yep. Correct.
FS1, sorry. I had it all jotted down and then I lost it. But FS1 is the TV station for those aren't able to go to Spartan Stadium or be in East Lansing this weekend. Tune in there. And then, of course, the Spartan.
You're going to play by
The Spartan Radio Network also has the radio coverage wherever that may be in your local area. And then, follow us on social media. Emmett will be burning a hole in his keyboard, typing updates, and we will be discussing on the social medias in real time. So follow us on Twitter and all the socials there for updates like that. But guys, Western, like I said, returning some players, losing a lot. What are your thoughts on the roster? Maybe some players that you want to highlight that we should be aware of looking at the Broncos.
Yeah, so I'll go first and kind of talk a little bit about this team. This is absolutely no shot at Western Michigan or at Coach Lance Taylor, but this is a MAC team in kind of the era of college football right now. And a lot of these guys are going to be guys that have either graduated from last year or really entered into the transfer portal from other teams, or they transferred away from Western Michigan. So if you look at who they have coming back, one guy I really want to talk about, and a guy that MSU should be keeping an eye on, is Blake Bosma, the tight end from Western Michigan. One of the best tight ends in the MAC. He's going to be someone that is going to be an impact guy for them. Now, obviously, with Michigan saying kind of the linebacker room that they have right now, I do hope that we'll be better with covering the tight end with the linebackers or safeties. So I don't necessarily know how much he's going to be involved on that aspect of it, but he's going to be kind of the guy I'm really watching when you're throwing the ball. And they're going to really be led with a new quarterback because Wolf last year graduated. He doesn't have any more eligibility, so Hayden Wolf is not there anymore. So they're going to have a new starting quarterback, and one of those guys could be Brock Lowry. We don't necessarily know exactly who's going to be the starting quarterback. I don't think it's been declared at this point. He was a sophomore, didn't throw a ton of attempts last year. Does have a little bit of experience, but they also do have transfer quarterback in Brady Jones that's coming in. So it's going to really be a battle between those two guys. If I would have to guess, probably maybe Brady Jones might get the nod over Brock just because of a more experienced type of quarterback. They obviously went out and got him. But quarterback is really going to be another area that they're going to have to kind of keep an eye on, obviously, see what they have. And then really the strength of this offense last year for Western, I think it's going to be the strength again for them as well is the running back room and running the ball. Obviously, they don't have a ton of offensive line coming back, at least starters from last year, but they do have a guy in Cole Cabana that transferred from Michigan in. He's going to be a guy to keep an eye on. He doesn't have a ton of experience at Michigan. I believe he really only has a few attempts or even a few appearances at all. He does have a ton of speed. He was a guy that I believe MSU did look at for a little bit. So there is obviously some familiarity with MSU and him, but he's going to be kind of the real question mark of this offense. He's been good. He has speed, but he just hasn't played a ton. So I think if you look on the offense side of the ball, there's a few question marks about them. And then defensively, I think you look at that side of the ball as well. They are pretty thin when it comes to the tackle room. They lost one of the best tacklers last year in the middle. Linebackers thin as well. They did go out, kind of get a few transfers there. And then really the prime strength of this team is going to be safety with Tate Halick. He's going to be a guy that MSU fans might be familiar with because he transferred from MSU. But I will stop talking and let Emmett go into his thoughts on Western.
Yeah, so Tate Halleck is also a guy I underlined for when I was looking at this team because he's one of the very few starters coming back, I believe. Michigan State has 4 defensive starters coming back. If I'm not mistaken, Western also has 2 to 4 that range. Zack, correct me if I'm wrong here.
They have a few, but they lost their best tackle last year, and this is a defense that, let's just put it nicely, wasn't very good last year. They gave up over 30 points 7 times last year, so this is going to be a defensive line that even if they do come back, they did lose their best guy.
Yeah. Also, shameless plug for Zack's podcast, Michigan Sports Podcast. He covers all of the Michigan sports teams, so he's going to be having his own preview of this as well. If you like what he broke down, he'll have more of that coming up. So shameless plug to him.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah. And then another thing to highlight is Western Michigan, one of their other strengths, and part of the reason why their offense was, I believe, top 5 in the MAC last year, one of their strengths was their kicking game. Just like Michigan State, they are breaking a new kicker in on Friday night. Their kicker, Luka Zurak, went 13 for 15 last year. He has graduated, and now that leaves a hole to be replaced. They brought in a kicker from Florida who did not see the field.
Smith.
Yeah.
Hunter Smith is the kicker from Florida, and then they have Palmer Domst.
Why do you think I said the Florida kicker first? I want to have you pronounce all the hard last names today.
Yeah. Sorry, Palmer, if I mispronounced that, but Palmer Domsky and Hunter Smith, both seniors.
Yeah, those will be their competition in the kicking battle. Offensive line, like Zack said, they don't return a lot. They do bring in a transfer center from Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. He had 24 appearances over 3 or 4 seasons with the Wolverines. Expect to see him probably being the best offensive lineman. If I'm checking PFF Saturday morning, I expect to see his name as the best among the Western Michigan line. The running backs, obviously Cabana, he's a guy. You don't know how that offensive line's going to do, but if you get Cabana open space, it is going to be a nightmare. I do think Michigan State has improved on edge and perimeter defense, but we saw last year, if the defensive line folded a little bit, that secondary sometimes was a little shaky for tackles. And I do think you're breaking in some new guys there. Nikai Martinez is a game-time decision. We don't know more about this. We might hear more. I'll be tweeting out Jonathan Smith's press conference tomorrow. If there is more on the status of Nikai Martinez or Jack Velling, who was practicing, same thing with Krishawn McRae. If there is more on those player statuses, I will be tweeting it out tomorrow. Chris will be retweeting it on the Shadows Podcast Twitter, so stay active for that if there's any updates. But Nikai Martinez, game time decision. I think despite what he was said when he transferred from UCF, he's one of the most consistent tacklers on the team. Malik Spencer, really good tackler. Obviously, he's had a concern with injury and also was ejected for targeting last season. So you do have I would say almost a concern there. Then you also have Justin Denson and Armorion Smith competing for starting roles. Those are the secondary members who are going to have to make that tackle if you have a player getting the outside. Their tight end room, another guy to highlight, in my opinion, is Michael Brescia. He is a former quarterback who had nearly 1,800 yards on the ground and 32 touchdowns in the Patriot League, an FCS level team, I believe Colgate. He is likely going to be their tight end too. He's a player that when he gets that ball, he is going to run. He's going to try to get through the nearest player. So you're going to have to be bringing your A game every time. Obviously, converted quarterback. Don't know how he's going to do in the blocking game. But just those are your players to watch because their receiver room, they lose, I believe, 7 wide receivers from their 2024 roster. So they have a whole lot of new guys. If I'm not mistaken, they do have one, I want to say a FCS transfer or D2 transfer who's like 6'4", 6'5". That was my player to watch. I think he gives trouble to everyone except maybe your Malcolm Bells of the world, who are 6'2", arms that go on for miles, cornerback. Nick Marsh credited Bell as one of those guys that gives him trouble. So I think you would see a lot of Bell. Just a reminder for those at home, he's wearing the number 14. I believe that Malcolm Bell is going to be one of those players who I think I'm circling. I want to see how he does this year. We've heard a lot about Josh Eaton and how he's probably corner one, and Chance Rucker is competing for corner two. I think that Rucker wins it just with his overall experience. But then beyond that, you have a lot of corners competing. Nijay Burt's also in that conversation. Andrew Brinson. So overall, I'm very excited to see how the new corners look. I'll stop yapping and turn it over to Chris now, since I feel like I've done my share of yapping.
The receiver you were talking about, that was a transfer. His name's Egypt Nelson. He transferred from, I'm not quite sure where, UC Davis Mercer, maybe? Yeah, I'm not quite sure where. But he's 6'4", about 200 pounds, so big size, big length, obviously. So yeah, could pose some mismatch problems if you're not one of the taller corners. But yeah, there's a lot of new faces in that receiver room. You do have some senior leadership. They've got a couple in another hard name to pronounce, Malik Diudone, and then Cam Hedgecock and Christian Leary. So some upperclassmen, but again, a lot of new faces. Don't really know how they're going to translate. To me, I think the running back room, or the projected starters in the running back room, are the ones you're going to have to be most leery about. I know they want to run the football over there at Western, and, in the past, MSU's had a pretty decent run-stopping defense. Hopefully that can continue. You guys mentioned Cole Cabana. Definite speedster. At one point was the number one ranked running back in the state of Michigan. He was heavily recruited by Michigan and Michigan State for a while. MSU was under the Mel Tucker era.
And Ephraim Reed, Pagler left, and Ephraim Reed took over, and there was a whole issue about who was higher on their board, etc. So that was multiple running back coaches ago, long story short.
Yep, exactly. We had switched running back coaches under Tuck towards the end there, and who was higher, who was not higher, what offers were where, who they prioritized, and that kind of led Cole towards the Maize and Blue. Not that he wouldn't have went there anyways, we don't know, but I know Michigan wanted him pretty badly when he was in high school, and he ended up signing there. Michigan has had their stable of running backs of late, and for whatever reason, his services didn't just track as well as they wanted it to. It didn't pan out for whatever reason, so fast forward, now he's at Western. He does have speed, like I said, can get in open space and can make you miss, can really pose a problem, I guess, is the way I want to describe it, if you get him in the open.
Yep.
That's something to look out for. Like Zach said, he didn't have a ton of game experience, but he can certainly play. So this could be the landing spot potentially for him. You also have Jalen Buckley. He was one of the leading rushers on the team for Western last year. He is returning. I believe he had 603-ish rushing yards, 9 touchdowns. So he certainly had some game experience for the Broncos last year, and we'll look to try to build on that. So if you can shut those two down and then make it to kind of more of a one-dimensional game, force the new quarterback and the new receivers to get on the same page early and try to exploit with the revamped secondary that's hopefully healthy, other than maybe potentially Nikai Martinez. That may bode well for the Spartans to be able to kind of lock it down there. So that's kind of what my matchup is. On offense, I just want to see consistency. I want to see it click. Aiden Childs has looked great in camp. The receiver room's been highly talked about. Some even saying it's the most talented receiver room in the Big Ten outside of, the Ohio States of the world. But overall, Nick Marsh is Nick Marsh. He's going to be able to really exploit some matchups against anyone. But then, the other transfers, the Evan Boyds, the Kellys, Krishan McCrae's, if he plays, they could really pose a threat and be hard to contain for Western as well. So hopefully we get some mismatches in the passing game. The decision making for Aiden Childs is something I'm going to be watching, because we know last year he had his ups and downs with trying to force throws and stuff like that. Some of that, I would say actually most of that is, being new to starting and within his first year in the Big Ten. Now he's got a season under his belt, another year with a quarterback coach, another year with the offensive staff. Let's build it. Let's make better decisions and move the ball down the field a little bit more consistently. Jack Velling playing obviously would be a big addition. He's recognized as one of the best tight ends in the country for a reason. Having that would be great. But I'm also excited to see Brendan Parachek and Michael Masunas back to help out in that tight end game. So, and then running back is another thing I want to see. How well can we establish the run? The offensive line, while we think it's going to be better, it's more deep. It's got a lot more talent overall as a room. how well can they push on the line? How well can they open up some space for the running backs? And then Mekhi Frazier and Brandon Tellis got limited action last year. Tal Tolliver coming in, Jace Clarizio, who's going to get the bulk of the snaps? Are we going to run all four of them at times? Just kind of some things to look at and just see who gets to work and who can consistently, pick up the bulk of the rushing yards, maybe get who's the guy that's going to get 4 or 5 yards a carry compared to 2 to 3, or who's the guy that's going to be able to take, a couple of receptions out of the backfield and be the best receiving options. We all kind of have an idea of who that's going to be, but as you know, things can get out in the game and maybe not translate like we thought it would. So just some things to watch. I do think the Spartans can handle this well. We'll kind of transition this maybe into our picks and what we expect. I like the Spartans to win. I like them to cover. I don't like the number being that big. I never do with MSU, but maybe it's my inner Chippewa and just my hatred for Western. But I think the Spartans should be able to handle them pretty easily. If I had to put a score on it, give me MSU 41, Western 17. Does that math track? That math tracks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Highest scoring game in the Smith era, I want to point out. 40 to 0 Prairie View is the highest scoring in the Smith era, so both choice.
And I feel good about the offense being able to come out of the gate healthy. I'm buying into the receiver room hype a little bit. I'm hoping we can establish a running game against Western. So we be able to do that. We should be able to put some points on the board. So not saying we're going to be a high potent offense that scores 30 to 40 points every game this year, but this is the time of the year that it can be done. I know it is the first week. Things may not be clicking like you think they're going to. So that could prevent that, but I still think the Spartans cover, and I think it's not exactly tough. That'll be my pick. First touchdown of the MSU season. Oh boy. You know what? I don't want to go Nick Marsh, even though I think it's probably going to be Nick Marsh, but give me Mekhi Frazier, rushing touchdown. I'll play it safe.
Didn't even make my honorable mention list, I want to point out, just because I thought we'd get to the red zone and ground and pound with Tolis. No offense to Frazier. I think Frazier's a phenomenal back. But
there we go. So maybe I picked the outlier of the backs, and we'll see. Maybe that was a smokescreen for Western to watch out for Tolis. We don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find out. But I'll take Mekhi Frazier. Don't know what the betting odds are for that, so maybe don't follow me on that. But, if it hits, you're welcome.
I was just going to say, if you look at the betting odds and it hits, and you're right, you're going to probably make some pretty good money on that, honestly.
Yep. Hey, who knows? The real play, I guess, would probably have been an Aiden Childs rushing touchdown, but, why not? Mekhi Frazier, he can do it. I have faith in him.
Hey, maybe Emmett will say Aiden Childs.
So,
Aiden Childs
who you got, Jack?
Was the first touchdown last year, so.
Yes, he was.
But as we all predicted on the podcast, Daquan Dallas got the first point of the Jonathan Smith era with a safety. We all called that one.
Yeah. Maybe that's my prediction. Maybe we'll get a defensive touchdown. I don't know. Maybe that's real possibility.
Malik Spencer pick six going to go so hard.
I was going to say Chance Rucker pick six, maybe. I don't know.
Or Joshua Eaton, welcome to MSU moment. I wouldn't hate that.
I like it.
That's not my actual prediction, but that would be a pretty fun moment.
What do you have for your actual prediction, or should we just pencil in Jack Velling now?
Yeah, I think we should just sharp.
Probably, but to get to that prediction, I need you guys and everyone to take a moment and turn the clock back a few years, back to 2021.
Okay.
A great fun year. Kenneth Walker comes off of his performance at Northwestern. Welcome to college Kenneth Walker. Now, obviously, Kenneth Walker is no longer at MSU. Payne Thorne is no longer at MSU. But what I would love to see, first play, let's do a flea flicker, Aiden Childs to Nick Marsh to open up the season. Who wouldn't love that? Welcome to MSU. There's a lot of hype going around MSU. Wouldn't that be a great start to the first ever home game this year? And that was the first home game for MSU against Youngstown State exactly when that happened. But would absolutely love that moment. So appreciate you guys taking a few minutes to turn back the clock. Imagine that for a few minutes. Imagine the happiness we experienced in 2021. We can obviously relive that moment. I think MSU does cover in this game. I think MSU probably wins like 35-10. I think this is one of those games that I just want to feel like, okay, we won at the end. Like, I don't want to feel like upset. It's one of those games where you really can't get like too hype about a win. Like it does, like if you win like 100-0, let's just say that happens. Like that would be really fun, but it's like, okay, we just beat Western. Like it should be one of those games where you're not like frustrated or upset or anything. Like it's like, okay, let's just prepare for Boston College. That's just kind of the
What was the
reaction.
quote? You don't congratulate a fish for swimming?
No, no, you don't. You don't congratulate a fish for doing its job like it's supposed to, which for MSU is beating Western convincingly, in my opinion. But let's just pencil in, obviously, the biggest known part that everyone's going to do, because I was thinking about it and I'm like, is this going to be a new year or is this going to be the same year? And I do think it's going to be a new year for MSU, but it's going to also be a little bit of the same. So let's go Jack Belly.
You know, I was hearing your turn back the clock story, and I realized something. Someone else had that same exact thought. You're right, Jay Johnson had that same exact thought for Wyoming.
Exactly.
And also, so I also think MSU is going to cover. Obviously, this is going to age horribly. I think we all said that MSU was covering against FAU. We know how that went. Overall, I think this year you have more than 70% of the offense installed, which was what Brian Lindgren estimated the team had installed heading into the FAU matchup last year. I think this year you have everything fully installed, and I think you're going to see hopefully an offense clicking on all cylinders. The biggest thing I'm watching for is if you see the Aiden Childs of the first half of the season or the second half. Hopefully you see the second half in terms of lack of turnovers, first half in terms of production and yardage, because you saw a noticeable dip against the higher quality opponents last year. But overall, I say give me Michigan State 38 and give me Western 10, which I was going to say 35-14, but I'm still staying under the projected point total of 49.5. And I do think that I want to see the kicking game come into play. I want to see how these kickers perform under pressure. I want to see who kicker one is. I don't want to see who's kicking your point after touchdowns. I want to see who you're trotting out for a 35-yarder, a 45-yarder, a 50-yarder. Hopefully you're not put in that position by the Broncos, but I want these kickers to get their game reps out before it's actually going to matter against a team like Boston College. I'm not saying the Western Michigan game doesn't matter, but it shouldn't come down to a missed field goal or two. So I want to see these kickers get if there's a bad snap, if there's that, get the panic out of the system if you can.
I agree.
So I'd say give me 38-10 and first touchdown. I'm going to say Nick Marsh. I have an article that just went up for Spartan Shadows today, Sunday night, the 24th, detailing 5 players who I think are most likely to get a touchdown, well, to get the first points of the season for Michigan State. I did include Tariq Ahmed-Basic or Martin Connington, whichever kicker one is, in that article, so I'd say first points of the season. But yeah, I'd say give me Nick Marsh. MSU is more likely, the same exact likeliness to have a 40-plus yard touchdown for their first points of the season as they are to have a 40-yard plus passing touchdown for the first points of the season as they are to have a field goal be their first one in the last 10 years. Then when you factor in the 75-yard Kenneth Walker rushing touchdown, you have it be 3-2. That's a fun fact for everyone.
We turned back the clock to Kenneth Walker.
We mentioned Kenneth Walker twice in this podcast, which might be a new high, which is actually kind of sad, but...
Unfortunately, we missed the boat on starting it when 2021 was live. That would have been a lot more fun.
18 credit. I also taking 18 credits, man. I could not have started with 18 credits of cybersecurity. Woo!
Dude, imagine this podcast after that Michigan game, though.
Yeah.
I would have to record it about 3 days after because I stayed up 48 hours straight for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't of the right mindset to record a podcast after that game.
48 hours, no sleep, 5 shots of Fireball and a dream, baby. We don't condone. I was 21 at the time. We condone of-age drinking in responsibility, in moderation.
Yep.
Anyway, I feel like I had the same exact bit during the first ever Shadows podcast. Big throwback. Anyways.
Yeah, I had a few, as Mickey Redmond would say, I had a few ginger ales that day. So
maybe even a root beer or two.
Yep. And of course, I was of age because I'm a dinosaur, apparently. So
yeah, you just celebrated happy 51st, by the way.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Yeah. Good rule of thumb to actually figure out my age, say whatever Emmett says, and just subtract 15 years off the number because that's about where it's at. But So, yes, I turned 36 this weekend. I'm old. I get it. I understand. But we're moving. It wasn't the most controversial thing of the weekend, but I won't bring that to the podcast quite yet. Emmett's food takes are wild. Just know that. So,
If you want food takes, we can do a bonus episode for anyone that is interested. Just put in the comments if you are interested in finding out Emmett's food opinions on certain things.
All I'll say
Yeah.
is if we get enough comments on it, I'll eat a steak live. I'll go live on Twitter and eat a steak just to prove wrong.
Which doesn't sound like a punishment, but maybe it is, damn it.
It is not a
So, just
punishment.
saying.
It's just not in my top 5 foods. Anyways.
We comment steak below if you want to see Emmett eat a steak on live.
We will go live. We'll go to StreamYard just to stream this of me eating a steak.
I agree.
Yeah, I see a live YouTube stream of Emmett eating steak. So,
quick question:
we'll turn this into a mukbanging podcast.
Comment for steaks do we need for you to get this to roll? Like, how many steaks do we need? Like, are we talking like 10, 15, 20? Like, how many comments?
I'll say give me 15, and you two and Katie is not allowed to be, or any of your friends from the party, because they already gave me enough crap for it. So none of the friends from the party and you two are also not allowed to. So it's going to have to be pure viewer-based. It can't be friend-based.
Put it on the description, Chris.
I can engagement farm that, not a problem. All right.
Here we go.
So, yeah, tune in for that. We probably wouldn't be able to fit it in anytime soon because we have a very crazy schedule, as I explained already. But look for that maybe in the future if we can get some comments up. But
all right, after that steak segue, let's get back to MSU football.
Speaking of steaks, the Spartans should drive a stake through the hearts of the Broncos this weekend, and that just basically sums it up. But as I said earlier, we've got lots of stuff. We still have the position breakdowns for the offensive line and the DBs to do. Those will be out this week. We do have a couple of guest interviews, like I mentioned. Not going to spoil it just yet, but once they're recorded, maybe we'll drop some hints on our socials on who they're going to be. Those are slated to come out, Wednesday and Friday?
Yeah.
Before the game.
Yep.
Yeah, the Friday episode, I'm hoping to get put up early on, definitely maybe before noon. That way it gives you time to
have your ginger ale.
Yeah, it gives you time to listen maybe on your way to Spartan Stadium that day. So, and then, tune in over the weekend for some summaries and recaps. So after that, we're going to be in regular season mode. We'll get you previews each week, picks.
Hopefully some guys.
Yeah, give our thoughts and all that stuff of what happened and go from there. So we got a lot coming up, and we're excited. So we appreciate everybody tuning in as always. And thanks for checking us out. And tell your friends if they haven't heard about us. Share us, comment, stake, or other comments work well on social media.
Any questions? Feel free.
Yep.
Yeah, and questions. Yep, questions too. And then we'll be sure to make sure that those get answered as best we can. So we appreciate it. Keep checked into the YouTube channel and Spotify. All episodes will be up on there, and Apple Podcasts. And then, we'll see you guys throughout the week. We're excited. It's finally game week. So we appreciate everybody once again, and have a good night. Go Green.
Go
White.